A very good evening to our viewers. Thank you for joining us tonight on the agenda. My name is Toiwanjebela. Tonight we are completely privileged to have on the platform the Prime Minister of the Republic of Namibia, that is Dr. Elijah Ngurare, to just walk us through the journey that brought him here, and more importantly perhaps, the journey ahead as the new administration of President Netumana Ndaitwah and him as Prime Minister, of course, navigate the very difficult path to bring our country to a very good level. Thank you very much, Prime Minister. It's a pleasure because we've never sat down for an interview, but in the context of my work, I've never had so you can imagine how happy I am to have you. So welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank
wonderful.
It's great that we could finally meet and have a conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How are you settling in this big role? Many people think that it was a surprise pick. I don't know in what context some people thought that was a surprise. Perhaps where you were in the political space of the ruling party, but maybe also where you were in government itself. But for those who know your level of education, the organic way in which you have grown both in SWAPO and government now, we feel that you are ready, but your own take on that.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think firstly, given that this is a conversation we're having, which is first of its kind, so to speak, between you and me, and as well as the viewers out there, I think one has firstly to pay tribute and acknowledge those who have gone before us, those who laid the foundation for the freedom and independence of our country, those that paid supreme sacrifices so that we can have this freedom and independence, but also the leadership that paved the way. I was one of those who voted for the first time from 8th to the 11th November 1989. When the founding president, the late founding president, returned and projected hope, that is 1989, saying we are going to be free, let's vote wisely. And of course, at that time, there was a manifesto that was there for SWAPO, which we were voting. And when he spoke that we will be a free nation, at the time, people were not really that sure. We knew that independence was coming, but we were not too sure what it meant. So they have navigated those formative years together with his generation. Of course, we salute them, all of them, including Comrade President Fikapunye Pohamba. He's still there. He's still the library that we have there. And the late President Hage Geingob, President Nangolo Mbumba, and now President Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah, the first female president, and herself also a product of the SWAPO Party Youth League. So we need to acknowledge and pay tribute to them, so that us who are now here and asking this question, of course we have also gone through that classroom where we have been able to learn from them. It's a classroom. It's a classroom. It's just like riding a bicycle also. You fall and stumble. You wake up in order for you to become a cyclist.
Absolutely.
So, and particularly to the question of whether it is a surprise. Well, when I was DED in the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform, Excellency the President and the Secretary General, what perhaps is not known is that they always used to call me. And even the work that we have been doing, because they are on the ground, they are able to see which part of the country perhaps is hardest hit in terms of lack of water, and it's the right thing for them to do. And we had long conversations. So yes, I thought, well, this is just the work of a civil servant, a civil servant who perhaps spend a bit of time at the party headquarters and so forth. So that is what I knew. So when she then eventually came now to this issue of whether I could avail myself for the Electoral College, which I did, as you know, we had to resign.
Yes.
Yeah, but of course, yes, it was a surprise then when she asked me to be her prime minister, which is a surprise because I thought I was going to be just a civil servant and then maybe retire as a professor. But be that as it may, she asked for me to assist her in government. That is precisely what I have committed to do. So my overall job is to make sure that I support her slavishly and that I assist her ironclad in being able to coordinate the government administration and also to make sure that some of the policies we were speaking about as SWAPO Youth League in line with the political program of SWAPO are implemented. So it's no longer just climbing on the drum and talking about it. Now we are able to speak and have them implemented, which of course for you is a veteran. You know what it is that we have been able to say all these years. And if I may add, if you recall in 2012, that Congress of the Youth League came up with probably the longest resolutions, which you also got.
Yes, yes.
Now, those longest resolutions, I think there were about 150 of them. And we gave them to Comrade Pohamba then as president. And he made, and we salute him completely, he made a lot of those resolutions, they have become government policy. So therefore, I have come to implement precisely some of the things that we have advocated for all these years. Of course, youth empowerment, informal settlement development, rural development, and what we call genuine economic empowerment, punctuated by common sense economic empowerment.
Absolutely. Thank you, Prime Minister, for that elaborate answer.
Yes.
That fact that you served in the Youth League for a long time, first, because I think people remember you only, a lot of people only remember you as secretary.
Yes.
But you were actually just one of the, you served in the executive under Paulus Kapia before you became secretary yourself. Yes. And when people were scrambling for jobs in government, when the Youth League was actually supplying a lot of its cadres to government, you remained at head office.
That's correct.
Do you think that grounding has now prepared you properly for the job at hand?
I believe so, and I think you see the grounding itself, as I said, it was a very good classroom. Now you may recall at the time I was also PA to the late Comrade John Pandeni, then Deputy Secretary General of SWAPO party. So that process, we traveled widely. And we were able then to learn a great deal from all matters of traditional authorities. We had long meetings in that. Again, it's a classroom wherein I was learning from. And then being at the party headquarters, I think it is a deliberate decision I took to say, let us get those others to go to parliament. I will be at the party headquarters. And I also felt, rightly so, I didn't believe that at the time, had I accepted the offers to be a parliamentarian or maybe minister and so forth, I would have been very objective in the issues that we were articulating. So we felt that if I am at the headquarters, we are able to inject a sense of accountability because we have a manifesto. It must be implemented. But it is important that those comrades that are implementing it, the party which was elected has a say in the speed, the pace with which that implementation is being done. So remaining at the party headquarters, I think it was a very good decision.
Yeah.
And also didn't want to get into parliament at that age.
Yeah.
I remember us discussing with some comrades, we wanted to be in parliament maybe when we are in our 54, 55, things like that, so that at least you are not that young.
Yeah.
And then you have amassed some degree of experience here and there. So I think it was a good thing to have been at the party headquarters for the longest that we have been.
Absolutely. And I remember those years, me and others who were reporters. Of course, we are editors now, but we used to...
Congratulations to you then. You also,
yeah, thank you.
Veterans now, you have been elevated.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
We used to scramble in our newsrooms whenever there was a Youth League press conference. Everybody wanted to go, yes, because they used to be explosive. Because you were taking on government to saying that we demand that the SWAPO government does this and this.
Yes.
And we miss that because we need a youth league that is holding government and the party itself accountable. And you guys did that very well at the time. So, but let's talk about your work now, Prime Minister. What is the emerging picture of the government? I know it's early days. It's 2 months only, but what kind of picture is emerging? No, in fact, let me ask you this question first. What kind of country do you think the new administration has inherited now that you have that aerial view of what is on the ground? Of course, you are a man that has been always on the ground, but I think now with an elevated sense of view of what is happening on the ground, with all the unemployment and the challenges around land and informal settlements, what kind of country do you think this administration has inherited, and how do you intend to tackle some of those?
The political program of SWAPO, as adopted in 1991, stipulates precisely what it is SWAPO need to do from that day on forward. Yeah. And it touches on all sectors, whether it is health, whether it's education, whether it is land, agriculture, and so forth. Yeah. So the administrations of SWAPO successively, it is the administration of SWAPO, yeah, which means all of us own it as our administrations. Now, there are specific deliverables that we have had after every other election. We go to the election, we put up certain discussions in the manifesto of that time, yeah, and then fast forward, this one also is a milestone, of course, because it's the first, yeah, female president that we have. But she also, as you recall, she traveled to all 14 regions more than twice, specifically as the manifesto was being put together, yeah, again in line with the political program of SWAPO. So eventually, therefore, when that manifesto was put together and that manifesto was campaigned on and voted on, so therefore the question then comes, what country are we inheriting? So it's the same country primarily, yeah, and it's the same country with a certain degree of perhaps enhanced challenges. And those are the challenges that you would recall even in the last election. The demographics from the youth that voted, I think it became almost 71%. Yeah. And then we are speaking not only of unemployment as the unemployment that was there in 1990 or 1989, yeah, or 2004. We are now seeing unemployment of qualified, yeah, young Namibians. Yeah. And that therefore requires that our interventions must be such that they meet the expectations and aspirations of those affected. Yeah. When Her Excellency appointed all of us, she gave us terms of reference. All of us have our terms of reference, what it is that we must do. For Prime Minister, of course, there are specifics in the sense that we are responsible to ensure coordination of the whole government. Yeah. And but there are also specific agencies that she would like to see in terms of the pace and speed with which we must implement certain things. I'm happy, as I was indicating on X this morning, as well as Bookface.
Yes, the Bookface, yes.
The Excellency, the President, has signed the budget, so which means we are now edging towards the marching orders becoming real. So whether now you look at it from all 121 constituencies and all the 14 regions, the challenges are now there. And unemployment is one of such. And there are enablers that we have put in our manifesto. And what we want then to see, as to your question, we must see transparency, efficiency, honesty in the public service. That all of us who are in the public service, first, we are servants of the people. We are not in the public service because we are somehow special than you or special to any other person. And equally, the service delivery is such that it must be service delivery that is not hindered by anything. One of the challenges we have come to realize is that as you know, it has been said many times, the procurement system. The procurement system, we championed it as Youth League in 2008 because it used to be tender board, and we said it needed to change. And the reason we advocated for that was so that the youth, women, and rural communities must benefit in the procurement system or from the procurement system of government. Now, that intention was good, but maybe what is happening is a completely different thing. So therefore, we need to streamline that in terms of injecting efficiency in it, so that if Ochombinde needs a particular service, that service should not be awaited for 6 months if it can be delivered in 2 or 3 weeks. And we must also then believe in the capacity of our own people, those who are honest, genuine, and want to be given an opportunity to showcase themselves. Remember what I said earlier on, that sometimes life, we must look at it like a bicycle, learning a bicycle for the first time. You will stumble, but you are likely to rise again. And if you rise again, determined, you can be a cyclist. So therefore, part of what we see is that we must be deliberate on the empowerment part, on rural development part, on genuine economic part, that, which is what you heard when we were discussing this budget. There is no reason why Omdaungilo, for example, cannot produce food that we as Prime Minister's office can source from in order to do drought relief. The same, of course, can go for Berse, Basney, Fontaine, or Kangwati, or Kachinakachi, any other place. So that, what we see is a country that is hopeful. What we see is a country that has got the skills. A great number of people are very enthusiastic and very committed to be able to play a part in the administration of our president. And what I also see is commitment from all colleagues in cabinet. They are aligned to the vision of Her Excellency. And we are constantly in contact. We talk to one another. And therefore, as Prime Minister, I must hold hands with everybody and make sure that everybody reach the destination that Our Excellency has indicated, because she is the one that was voted with a mandate to govern. And for us, we must assist her in the collective. And I see that in them, and I hope, as we have begun now to do, is to look at the civil servants or public servants to equally be aligned to that. I began in Grootfontein when we were there this Monday. We began to have a meet and greet for Prime Minister to meet some public servants to also appreciate the environment under which they are operating. And that we will do and continue to do. And once we understand and establish a proper baseline, ours is to ensure that service delivery is not hindered in any way.
Before we go for a break, Prime Minister, it's good that you mentioned procurement. Related to that, and I agitate a lot about this on social media, is the issue of BEE. Again, the principle, just like Tender Board, the principle was correct. Black economic empowerment in order to reconcile with with the past injustices that particularly black communities have suffered. But these initiatives have been hijacked from where I stand, that instead of BEE empowering communities, it has only empowered individuals. If you give a BEE tender or whatever to Toivo Njebela, he goes to Okalongo, put up a big mansion in his village, drives nice cars, sends his children to Cape Town for school. While there's actually no direct benefit to the community itself, I think we need to check that, so that BEE becomes a tool to empower communities instead of individuals. Your take on that?
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Those have been my views and our views. I think 2008, 2009, thereabout, the late Comrade Abraham Iyambo, and when we were then starting, the party gave us the assignment to start the think tank.
Yeah.
That was one of the topic, is black economic empowerment. Some felt maybe don't call it black economic empowerment, call it some other name that is neutral or whatever it is. But the fundamental issue is the same. How do you empower those that were colonially disadvantaged?
Yeah.
In my terms of reference now as Prime Minister, Her Excellency the President has also indicated some aspect to that. So yes, we are going to work towards that. But we would also then say, deliberately so, that if you are empowered as a black person, please remember that on your shoulder rests the hopes of others like you. Because if you mess up, you are messing up for the generation. And it is better that you do your utmost best with the opportunity you are granted to showcase and to prove those naysayers that yes, it can be done. That if you are given, like for example, I have kept saying these things. If at Onkumbula there's a secondary school or there is a public institution, now the eggs that are consumed at that facility, why should they come from Windhoek? They can as well come from either Ngurare or anywhere nearby there. And when you find that the women there cannot perhaps produce sufficient eggs, give them the capacity to be able to produce sufficient eggs. Or it can be bread, it can be whatever. Then you give the opportunity to these people. So firstly, what we will do and we must do is to build the capacity of those that will be given opportunity so that they can be able to showcase. And it is, yes, I know this narrative that we look at blacks, sometimes maybe what we do, some can buy, I mean, because it's a black and white issue now, a black person can buy whatever BMW or whatever car you have, and the white person also get a tender and get to buy the same thing. But the focus on a wrong that a black person commits is magnified. Yeah. But the wrong that the other person has committed, it's sometimes seen as a wrong of an angel. And the black is the wrong of a devil, so to speak. I think we have to perhaps mentally begin to start looking at these things differently, because otherwise we are projecting a view to a black child that you are inherently already classified, you are going to do the wrong, etc., etc. But of course, doesn't mean that we are saying that to shield wrongdoings, not at all. What we want to say is that there is good and bad in every human being, but not necessarily that because it's a black and this is what is done. So, but if we say on Anjaba, there is somebody at Onanjaba who can deliver a service, it's better we empower the one at Onanjaba instead of us bringing things from elsewhere. So to me, that is how I look at it. Is it true that the procurement system has been, I think, maybe abused? And so that's true. And there are some perhaps that are bribed in being able to do certain things in favor of certain people, but we must understand that when you do that, actually you are infringing on the security of the country and the national interest of the country.
Absolutely. We go for a very short break and return with Prime Minister Dr. Elijah Ngurare. Our conversation with the Right Prime Minister, Dr. Elijah Ngurare, continues on the agenda. One of the things that make us very hopeful as citizens of this country, Doctor, is that we have a president who historically has never been implicated in anything shady. Yourself, when everybody was going around grabbing your generation, going around grabbing BE deals and everything and fishing quotas to become rich, you stayed behind. So we feel like we have two pairs of hands, safe hands, that can save our country from corruption, because the truth is that our country is struggling with corruption. That is very, very true. And it's good that the president campaigned on the clean slate to say, look, we want to usher in a new administration, a new dawn of cleanliness in government. How serious is that rhetoric in practice in government right now?
I think from the perspective of Her Excellency the President, the sense I'm getting, the sense of integrity that she is displaying, and when you listen to her on a one-on-one and what she's doing, I think there's seriousness in being able to do that. But also, it is not like a favor we are doing. You are not trying kind of like to put up either a show or whatever. It's your integrity. Yeah. Your conscience cannot be sold. No matter what amount of silver and gold, it cannot equate to the independence of your conscience. Mm. So you cannot succumb to such things. More so when you are doing so in the national interest and preserving the national security of the country. So yes, it's difficult to be poor. Yeah. It's true. It has been difficult when others are where you think you could have been. But you sleep peacefully at night. Yeah. You sleep peacefully at night, even if it is just some tete that you are eating, top score that you are eating, which we have been doing. But your principles must never be compromised. Mm-hmm. So that is where it all comes to. Now, we have even in the past said, look, if it is a public service, even if it means let's do, what do you call it, audit, lifestyle audit or whatever these things are, it's fine. Mm-hmm. You see, principally, we are not in public offices in order to eat or to get rich or whatever those things. Yeah. Is to serve. Yeah. And service delivery should be, for lack of a better word, a sense of nationalism. Yeah. Yeah. What must happen in Varambat must happen in Sibinda. In Sibinda must happen in Okombahe. Okombahe, as you know, our song goes, Wahanas, Epukiro, and everywhere. Yeah. So everybody should have a sense and a view of saying they can see themselves in the work that we are doing. Yeah. The offices where we are. I should not surround myself only with Kavangos and say, now I'm fine. No, we must be deliberate in ensuring that we are projecting an image of nationalism.
Yeah.
Now, what we must have is economic democracy.
Yeah.
Economic democracy in the sense that the resources of the country must benefit everybody. Now, they must not benefit somebody just because of proximity to me or to you. That shouldn't be the way it needs to be. In our view, at least when we used to speak of genuine economic empowerment, we meant that to the extent that you see poverty as you see it when you travel in some part of this country, you should not wait for Jesus to come and tell you that there is a fairness that needs to be applied here.
Yeah.
It's within you. It must just stick immediately. When you see that at that village, at that household, they don't have water, they don't have amenities that make life dignified, we should be deliberate in being able to respond to those challenges. So to us, I think when you see what the president is saying, that is precisely what we want to do. And we do it, and once we succeed in that, then we can talk of the national unity will succeed. Yeah. And then us who are in public offices, you see, we shouldn't also use these public offices to mislead people. Yeah. Sometimes, as I have said in Parliament to my colleagues in Parliament during the budget debate, you see, it's a generation. Many of us in that Parliament are the same generation. Now, if somebody stands up in Parliament and say the sun rises from the east, because you are opposition, you can't just stand up and say it is not true. Yeah. Yeah. This is a fact. And if SWAPO says this is like that, there's no need for you to oppose. So therefore, on the bread and butter issue, in our view, we have to address it as united as possible, regardless of political affiliations. We must be able to have certain common denominators, just like Christians have common denominators on the 10 Commandments. Yeah. They don't always agree, but hardly have you heard them calling for an amendment of the 10 Commandments to be 9 or 11, whatever the case might be. So I believe that there's sincerity in what we are saying.
Absolutely. It's good to hear. You say the president has signed off the budget now. We must now hit the ground running. What are the priorities? I listened during the State of the Nation address on the 24th of April, when the opposition were asking the president, I remember Mr. Swartboy saying, "Oh, Mr. President, you are all over the place. You are just giving crumbs to different sectors, but there is, what is your lending?" I think that those were his exact words. In other words, he feels that there are scattered priorities and not targeted ones. So what is your take on that? What are our priorities in a country that there's so many challenges?
If we speak of priorities, and we have said agriculture is one of such a priority, what is unclear about that?
Help me just push your mic a little bit up.
Thank you for this education. I'm still learning all these things.
And then you put it under a little bit.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, please proceed.
Thank you for the teaching. Agriculture, we said, is one of the priorities. So it's food security. Yeah. What is not clear about that? So what we mean by agriculture is that it should no longer be, as we say, business unusual. Now, we have just come recently from Bloves. If you leave Bloves as you go towards the west, there's a land, very good land there. Now, why not drill a borehole there and work with the traditional authority there and put up an irrigation system there? That's one. Two, Hibian. Hibian has naturally a lot of water, and the water is close to the surface. So why can't we make irrigation in Hibian? I can go on and on and on, including places where water is salty. The technology now exists to desalinate that water and be able to produce food. So what we are saying is there are areas in this country where malnutrition is happening. Tomorrow we will be in Omaheke, where the malnutrition figures are a bit higher. Now, you can't certainly not see the fact that the reason there is malnutrition is because either there is a mismatch perhaps on our priorities in respect of attaching importance to food production at a small scale. And that is what we want to be able to do. We have big scale such as this green schemes and so forth, but let's produce food at household level.
Yeah.
And that is the uniqueness in which that we are looking at. Now, that uniqueness means if we were to do that to blowers, it means we are creating employment to the community of blowers, as well as we are creating food security to the community of the Berseba constituency, for instance. If you look at the south, now the elephant in the room, as it were, the Nectar Dam, the community of Snijfontein there, if we are able to support them through this prioritization of agriculture, they can be able to produce food. And we can go on and on. That is one of the priorities that we have indicated, sport and so many other things. So there are the pillars in the constitution, in the manifesto. Maybe what we should request is that let the opposition also take a look and read, even during bedtime, read the SWAPO Party election manifesto, and then we can discuss, because the priorities are there. The appeal I would make is that let's not be maybe dismissive and just make and talk because it is fashionable to be in the space where perhaps we do SWAPO bashing. I don't think that is what it should be. Let us have a conversation, look at it and say, okay, you have prioritized agriculture. Maybe at this agriculture you have prioritized, maybe look at it in this way or look at it in the other way. But as far as the priorities are concerned, they are very clear. There is even an implementation plan of the manifesto. So it is there, what it is we want to do. And we are very confident, and we believe that all Namibians should rally behind Her Excellency the President and the vision that she wants to achieve, because it is in the interest of all Namibians.
Absolutely. Her success, your success, is the success for our country naturally. So it's important. I mean, I've written in several of my editorials to say it's important that we rally behind the new administration, render it the necessary support, because if it succeeds, it's good for all of us.
Yes.
Explain, Prime Minister, the context, because of course it's a new administration and you visited a lot of places of the country, and some people say, oh, the Prime Minister is traveling a lot, he's never in the office, stuff like that. If you can contextualize the necessity for you to be out there.
From the SWAPO Youth League years, from the local government years, from agriculture years, and from the perspective of the political program of SWAPO, you need to be with the people. And you need to understand their needs, wishes, hopes, dreams, and aspirations. When you plan from the office, you must always benchmark what you are given in the office vis-a-vis what is on the ground. So what we are doing, we are precisely doing that. And when we understand and appreciate what our people need, our responses to their needs and aspirations will not be a mismatch. And of course, the very same views that of those that say be in the office, when I was in agriculture, they said exactly the opposite. They say you are too much in the office. You don't see what is happening there. And I was happy that we were able to go out. And I can now say, for example, today we have the Ohamaremba Okangwati water pipeline, for example. We look at Odondati and Omashete pipeline. We look at Onamatanga pipeline. Some of these things were found because we were on the ground. Because what we were sitting with in office is completely different realities. And then when we got on the ground, because for us is to solve issues as you find them. And we also went to camp in various villages.
Yeah, I saw the tent.
Yes.
You're sleeping in some tent.
Precisely. And that is the nature of how we have been doing things. Even here in Commerce, we were sleeping at Lablanelo number 3 there, camping there, listening to our people and be able to solve their problems and challenges hands-on. So that is what we will continue to do. The moment there is a mismatch, you are creating a vacuum that others will fill, and fill not necessarily in order to address the challenges that our people face, but to stand on the fence and consistently just try to pinpoint the DNA of wrong. You see. So for us, we believe that, and that's why I'm very happy that all of us are aligned. We must serve in the interest of our people. And when we do, if you better the life of our people, the politics will become second class. The economics of our people is much better.
Absolutely.
And that is what we want to do.
Yeah, it's the same principle in journalism. Sometimes when you just sit in the office and people are complaining and telling you stuff, it doesn't sound serious. So you go sometimes on the ground and say, what is actually happening? And do you realize that the picture is even bigger than what you were told? So I understand you from that point of view. Youth unemployment in the country, Prime Minister, is very, very high. It was announced in January this year that it's 37%. It's a huge figure. Independent experts even say that if the right formulas were used, it's probably standing at 55%. What is being done? Because I look at these things. I mean, we saw some figures of teachers alone. Teachers, apparently, about 15,000 of them unemployed up to now since graduating. Some graduated as far back as 2017, long ago. How is the issue of unemployment being addressed? Because for me, that is the mother, that is the mother of all solutions, especially ahead of 2029, because SWAPO will go back to the electorate again and say, look, vote for us. But if the figures are still that staggering, there will be problems for the ruling party. What is being done to address these issues? I know, for example, that investment is actually one of the interventions that we can have. If companies come here, set up in Namibia, but then the problems that we have with our policies also, Prime Minister, is our tax, our corporate taxes are too high. One of the highest, we are at 32% in SADC. Botswana is only at 22%. What is it that separates us from others? Because everybody is competing for investors, and we don't seem to have something unique to say. We don't just have peace and stability, because Botswana has peace and stability too. South Africa has a bigger market than us. We are only 3% of the South African economy. What are the unique offerings that we can come up to make sure that we really attract investors here and help our people out of their misery?
First thing is we need to recognize that unemployment, especially youth unemployment, has a human face, and it is frustrating, it is painful. A great number of us went through that. I remember coming back from university thinking that you have a job, and then I didn't. I think I was for a year or plus unemployed, but you are a qualified person, and then you are not employed. I remember when I was at UNAM in the north, there was a father who came to my office, literally almost crying, and said, I have my children, they are hanging their degrees and nothing is happening. So from us in the executive, and that is now from the president to all of us, there is none of us that would sleep peacefully until this matter is resolved, sector by sector. Like I said, we have been given terms of reference. We have a mandate that we have been given by Excellency, the marching order rather, that we have been given on this topic. Including looking at those priority areas and they must be the engine of job creation, as agriculture is one of them, creative industry, etc., etc., all these ones. So the figures, as we have shared, it is not thumbsuck, as some people would want us to believe. And I think what I will say is, okay, we are now 2 months or whatever that we are in office. Give us some time. We'll come back here. And what I think society out there should also appreciate is that the sincerity with which we are saying these things is not campaigning or talking to anything else, because we understand those unemployed are also our families. It is not something that you can be dismissive about. So when you see us moving from this place to that place, solutions that we are looking at, solutions that are, one, in the immediate term, medium term, and long term. Preferably where we must apply most emphasis is immediate term, so that we are able to cushion the challenges that many are going through. When we speak of formalization of informal settlement, for example, that's part of it. And we are then saying deliberately, when this exercise is being done, you must also be deliberate and have a number of these unemployed young people to be involved. If you look at the capital budget, year in, year out, that's where the real money is. Now, we cannot go to the election promise that after we get elected, this and this happen. But after we are elected, the capital budget goes to precisely to those who did not even vote, or for that matter, maybe who are not even supportive of what we are doing in terms of reducing the high rate of unemployment. So we are fully aligned to finding practical solutions to this unemployment issue, whether it is in education, whether it is in nursing. I remember when I visited the Ministry of Education, maybe we did not make it public because we said I didn't want to make it public, and it's deliberate. We had this conversation with the Ministry of Education in terms of interventions that we have deliberated on, interventions that we would like to see applied, and also solutions that we want to implement in terms of even these things of interviews where a position is maybe just one, and then you ask so many people to come and apply or be interviewed, etc., etc. So all these conversations are the conversations that are taking place, because we can't be blind to the challenges that our people face.
Absolutely.
No.
The final question to you, Prime Minister. You've stepped in big shoes as a Prime Minister. The shoes that have been worn by Hage Geingob, worn by Theoben Ngurare, Nahasangula, Saraku Gangola Madela. It's not small shoes. It's not baby shoes. It's really big shoes. What do you want to be remembered for when we tell our children in the future that there was a Prime Minister called Dr. Elijah Ngurare? What do you want us to be telling our children in hindsight to those years?
I have always believed that in the conduct of our own lives, there are two choices or two considerations that must be prominent. One is that if there is an issue to implement, you must look at it in two. There is technical consideration and there is human consideration. So when you are presented with scenarios and people are telling you, according to this section, so section act, whatever, this and this cannot be done, look at the human consideration. So I would like to be remembered as a human being of flesh and blood, one that understands the tears and aspirations of people, and how I wish to assist Her Excellency and support Her Excellency is by being human, and tell her things as they are, and advise her on things as they are. So if I have gone to Okangwati and found the situation that requires a solution in a certain way, I should not come to her and wish-washy what the issue is, because otherwise decisions will be taken on wrong things.
Yeah.
That is one. Two, when I say human consideration, again, let me take Oshikunde, for example. Now, if it is an issue of giving a tender to somebody in the remote areas, now, if somebody in that remotest area, whether it is Oikuku or Hamtweta Utende, in a Pembe or wherever it is, now, then you say that particular person at that household level, they must meet certain requirements. Requirements of NAMRA, requirements of social security, requirements of whatever, before a tender is given to them. To me, that does not have common sense. So we must think out of the box and be able to be human when us as government are responding to the aspirations of our people. So that is how I would like to be able to do it. Is what is human is human. Yeah. Does not matter whether that person is a street kid, does not matter whether that person cannot speak this or that language, as long as they are a human being. We must be able to be responsive to their needs and aspirations. So that is a human being that will be remembered. Yeah. And always, at all material times, people should remember that your conscience is worth more than silver and gold.
Absolutely.
So you must never be able to auction it just because it is expedient to do so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Prime Minister, thank you. It's really a pleasure talking to you.
You're most welcome.
Yeah. That is Prime Minister Dr. Elijah Ngurare gracing us tonight on the agenda and sharing with us and with you the vision that he and President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah and the entire new government has in store for us. Thank you for watching.